Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews and to my first What I'm Reading Right Now video since I've been on hiatus. Did you miss me? Probably not. I was still posting quite a lot of content. No, I did have a wonderful time in August. I got a lot of reading done, I got a lot of relaxation done, and not so much of many other things, but that's fine. It's technically still August when I'm filming this, but it will be September by the time we get to Friday, so I'm using this as kind of my warm-up, reset, get everything back in gear moment for what I'm reading right now, because otherwise I'm just going to be a bit of a mess. So this is the messy video. This one is allowed to be more of a mess than normal. Now, I'm not going to go through everything that I read in August, because that is a Patreon exclusive. They will have my wrap up probably in a few days, depending on how I'm doing when I get back from Belgium. So sorry, patrons, it's going to be a little bit late, but I am going to talk you through some of the big things. I'm going to go through some series, some new releases, and we'll talk about where I'm at right now and what I'm planning on reading coming up. You may know my plan for August was to smash through some series that had been sat on my TBR for quite some time, and I'm very pleased to say that for the most part, I managed it and set myself up in good stead for September. First up, I finished the Divine Cities trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett, the first of which is City of Stairs. I read City of Stairs before going on hiatus, but book 2 and 3, City Blades, City of Miracles, I did finish. I really enjoyed these. I got them from the library, which I'm glad I did, because I don't think I necessarily need to own them. They're not ones I'm going to reread, or if I'm going to reread, I'll probably reach for Foundry Side. But I thought they were really great reading experiences. It's a really interesting world. We have a world where the gods have all been killed, but there are some miracles kind of flitting about that still work, and it's sort of mystery books tied with city bureaucracy. They're really good. I would recommend. If you have already read Foundry Side, I would recommend. I still think Foundry Side is my favourite Robert Jackson Bennett. Two series that had been sat on my list for a very long time were Old Space Sirens book club picks. A group of friends who are all bookish kind of content creators have a book club that is very chill, and most of the time we forget about it, but many years ago now, we read The Stolen Kingdom by Bethany Atazadeh. This is a loose Aladdin retelling, fantasy book, self-published kind of thing. I read this and at the time said, it's probably in the live stream somewhere, that I would read the other books in the series, and then years later never had. So I finally did it. They were on Scribd, not sponsored by Scribd, but there will be a link if you want my referral code. And yeah, I finished it. I thought they were good. They weren't amazing. I wouldn't buy all of them, and clean romance is never really my thing. Not that I desire spicy romance, but I have thoughts, and there will be an overbooked video coming out on that series where I will attempt to make more sense of my thoughts in a more helpful manner. Really glad that I finished that series. The other Space Sirens Book Club series that I finished was The Arcadia Project by Michelle Barker. This is an urban fantasy kind of paranormal series set in LA, in kind of like a Hollywood dynamic where the Arcadia Project are a group of people who liaise between the human world and the Fae world. It is also about mental health and quite traumatic elements. I wouldn't recommend reading it without looking up the content warnings, for sure, but I had a really good time with these. I love a mystery. You know I love a mystery, and these are mysteries to a T. I thought these were fantastically written. I obviously can't comment on a lot of the disability and mental health representation in there, but it felt like it was coming from a place of wanting to authentically represent those things. I don't know if a good time is the right word for these. It was a very satisfying reading experience, which is my current catch-all for this book isn't necessarily happy, but it was a good time for me reading it. I did those by audiobook, again on Scribd. After many months of trying, I did finally get to at least be up to date with the After the War series, which is by multiple authors. It's published by Solaris here in the UK, and it is a set of books that are exploring adventures that are kind of after the end of the big fantasy series. I liked a lot of these. I don't think they are mind-blowing. If you are a big fantasy reader, I wouldn't necessarily recommend picking them up over other books, but overall I had a good time, and as a completionist I'm glad that I finished that series up to where it at least has published so far. So I did finish off Tales of Cat and Fisher, which are the 4 novellas bound together, and Homecoming's Fall by Mark D. Yeager. I think that's all the series that I finished off. Other things I read included Spirits Abroad by Zen Cho, which I do have a video that's up already if you want to check that out. The Thick and the Lean by Hannah Porter, which I'm working on the video review for right now. I just need to finish editing it, and there has not been time. I read The Undetectables, which is a kind of semi-spooky, supernatural detective-y book, which I really wanted to love, but it just didn't quite gel with my brain in the right way, which was disappointing, but I think a lot of people will like this, it just wasn't for me. I finally read A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I've been wanting to read it for ages. The library copy finally came through, and it was so good. A haunted house story, amazing. I would really like to make a video for it for Halloween. We will see. I recently finished House of Odysseus by Claire North. This is the sequel to Ithaca in her what's it called? The Songs of Penelope series, where book 1 is narrated by Hera. This book is narrated by Aphrodite. It's a really interesting take on Aphrodite in the same way as the first book was an interesting take on Hera. I actually like this a lot if you are a person who, like me, tends to bounce off these Greek myth retellings because they tend to be a little bit bleak. This is still bleak, but it's interestingly bleak. It's not just feeling depressing for the sake of being literary. I liked it, I would recommend. Very briefly, I reread The Stardust Thief. Again, overbooked video will be coming out. I'm just going through all the books that I've piled around me now. And I'm kind of in the Joe Abercrombie books that have been on my TBR for ages stage. So I have finished the first 2 books in the Shattered Sea series, which is technically Joe Abercrombie's YA. I think you can read them as adult and they're fine. They're just a little bit less grisly than his other stuff. These are Viking adjacent stories. I've read the first 2. I am 10% of the way into the 3rd one by audiobook. And so far, yeah, I'm really enjoying them. I think they're very interesting. They're very Joe Abercrombie in that grimdark sense. I like. There will be a video when the series is done. And then, with no real structure, but that's a nice segue into what I'm currently reading or what I'm planning on reading this week, I have Best Served Cold, which is the first book in his standalone books in the same world as the first Law series. So I'm planning on reading this, and then I have the other 2 up. Oh, they're out of frame, but they're in a little box behind me. So I'm reading those. So it's a lot of Joe Abercrombie at the moment, but I'm okay with it. The other thing that I'm currently in the middle of is The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. I wanted to have this done before the end of August, but it is quite long. It is 600 plus pages, and it's just taking me a little bit of time because I'm savouring it. I absolutely love this series. I know it's not for everyone. I know it's a little bit cheesy, but the world with these elemental powers and the dynamic between these characters, I've always enjoyed, and I'm excited to dip back into that world. I'm really interested to see how it feels at the end of this book, and I think it's very interesting to make a choice to continue on with the same characters from the previous trilogy. So V. Schwab has brought in new characters, there are new aspects to the story, but a lot of the point of views are the same, and I have feelings on this, largely to do with it kind of making the ending of book 3 feel a little bit cheating, because it removes that catharsis of the end of a book, I think. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, I'm just aware that I'm gonna have to wait a long time for this to wrap up now. I just want them to be okay. The other thing that I have on my list to read this week is The Phoenix King. This is by Aparna Verma, and I got sent a free copy of it, and I'm going to read it and tell you what I think. An Indian-inspired action-packed debut of fire magic and ancient prophecy. It's probably going to be a good time. And that's kind of everything that's on the go at the moment, and I've read a lot of little bits and bobs in between other things. As I say, Patreon will get the full picture and all of my full thoughts. I just wanted to get us back up to speed on what's going on the channel. Moving forward, I've got a fair few new releases that I would still like to get to. I'm also working on a bunch of stuff, waiting for library reads to come in so I can plug some of the gaps in my new releases that I wanted to read this year. And I'm rereading for Overbooked Phase 2, which there will be more information about coming your way soon. I just need to get all my ducks in a row for that one. There's a lot of ducks to be corralled into rows at the moment. But yes, my first reread for that is the Regency Fairy Tales series by Olivia Atwater, so I'm very excited because I love them so much. I'm very pleased to have physical copies this time. Thank you so much, Evie, for sending me those. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. What have you been reading? What have you been up to during this time period where we've been estranged from one another? Have you had a good August? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I would like to say an enormous thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one because I've got to go to the dentist now. It's gonna be some bloopers now. You may know my plan for August was to smash through some Come on, ooh. And I'm kind of in the middle of two, well, I've not really started one of them.